Welcome, everybody, to Ridiculously Raw, the most must-see show on YouTube today. Hello, friends. Here, Ridiculously Over good brother Anthony Florio here, joined as always by Girl MF Michael Fletcher, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Twisted Angel D.D. Woodson, awaiting the presence of the Phenom Michael Bullock. We'll see if he comes in. If he does, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll see him next time we see him. So, okay. First off, another snooze fest Monday Night Raw. Well, what else is new? But I'll say this. The night started off with promise. But then it fell off a cliff. That's all I can say on that. So, we made history, though. That's all I'm going to say. So, at least there's that. So, without any further ado, let's get into this. Monday Night Raw live tonight from the U.S. Bank Arena in Cincinnati, Ohio, exclusively on the USA Network, as always. And a lot of hullabaloo was made on social media over the last few days about some certain events that were going to possibly go down. And, well, we started it off with the boss, the chairman, Mr. McMahon. He came out, and then he gets interrupted by the big dog, Roman Reigns. Now, I thought for a minute he was on SmackDown Live, but wait, that's not all. Then we had, for the first time in a month, the former WWE champion, the new Daniel Bryan. And then we had the man who took the WWE Championship from at WrestleMania, giving us one of the great feel-good moments in recent memory, Kofi Kingston. They all, say what they had to say, and then all of a sudden, a pure Raw guy finally comes out, and that's the Scottish psychopath, Drew McIntyre. And he didn't hold back, and then Vince McMahon says, you know what? Why don't we have 2 WrestleMania rematches? We'll have Roman Reigns square off against Drew McIntyre, and then we're going to have Kofi Kingston defend the WWE Championship against the new Daniel Bryan. Okay. First time on a Monday Night Raw in nearly 3 years. We haven't seen a WWE Championship match on a Monday Night Raw since July the 18th of 2016. And it was right here in Providence, Rhode Island, the Dunkin' Donuts Center. Ask MF. He was there. He was there with our good friend Megan Silva. He could tell you that one. It was Dean Ambrose against Seth Rollins. We all know how that turned out just before the brand extension draft. And then from there, we weren't done yet. The phenomenal AJ Styles comes out. Looks like he's fully turned heel now, which I think is great because we know he can pull off the heel character easy. And then, he talks about what's going on with all these SmackDown guys here. And then all of a sudden, here comes the Universal Champion Seth Rollins. And I thought for a minute Vince was going to actually pull the trigger and make this match that was scheduled for Money in the Bank tonight, but no. He channels his inner Teddy Long and makes it a tag team match, playa. Seth Rollins and AJ Styles against Bobby Lashley and the human buzzkill, Constable Bleepface, Baron Corbin. And then that leads into a tag team matchup. Rollins and Styles against Lashley and Corbin. Winners of the match in 19 minutes, even 19 minutes. Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin. Okay, a lot to get into here. Vince McMahon invokes what's going to be known as a wild card rule, where several talents from Monday Night from SmackDown Live could show up on Monday Night Raw at any time, and vice versa. We're going to see some talents from Monday Night Raw showing up on SmackDown Live. So what did Vince's character have in mind if it wasn't for those matches setting themselves up? But anyways, the live crowd was excited to see the SmackDown talent appear. So the big plan to have 3 wrestlers each week allowed to blow off the brand split rule, I guess it could set up a sense of not knowing who will appear week in and week out if that's what they're going for. Go for some unpredictability, which I'm hella okay with. And then from there, as far as the match goes, I can't believe I'm saying this. That match was actually entertaining, and it added more drama to the Rollins and Styles feud. I could go as far as to call this the fight of the night, if I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm going to give this about 3.5 stars. So a lot to make sense of here. But honestly, I can't make sense of it all. But I do know someone who can make sense of it all, or at least try to make sense of it all. Our voice of reason, the GOAT. MF. I mean, come on in. Look at this. The big dog, the planet's champion, and the new people's champion. Wow.
Yeah. It was a very interesting segment, to say the very least. I was shocked to see Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston. I knew Roman Reigns was going to be in the house because that was promoted, and they were trying to say that, oh, no, Roman's not going to be there. Roman's not going to be there. He's exclusively to SmackDown Live. He's not going to be there. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's Roman Reigns. This is kind of like the John Cena of WWE. He's going to be there. There's no doubt about it. Sure enough, he shows up He shows up. I'm like, oh, great. Did we just lose Roman Reigns back to Monday Night Raw? Was this just an experimental thing? No. Then Daniel Bryan shows up, first time out of the blue. You know, a lot of people were wondering what happened with Daniel Bryan. The last time we saw him was literally at WrestleMania. There was rumors that, you know, Daniel suffered an injury. Then there was rumors that, no, he was taking some time off to be with his family. So it kind of was one of those where nobody really knew what happened with Daniel Bryan. So it kind of was one of those shocking ends, to say the very least. Not fun, but cool. Nothing more to say about that. I was pretty happy with that. At the end of the day, it is what it is. It was kind of more of a shocking entrance for Daniel to show up, and then the WWE champion, and I'll say it, the new frontline soldier of SmackDown Live, Kofi Kingston, showed up, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute now, what the hell is this? I mean, but you know what? I'm intrigued now because of the fact that not only do we have 3 guys from Raw, 3 guys from SmackDown going to Raw, and it could be anybody. So what does that mean for tomorrow? What does that mean for tomorrow night? Do we get Seth Rollins to come back? Is Seth Rollins going to show up on SmackDown? Does Braun Strowman show up on SmackDown? Does Drew McIntyre show up on SmackDown? Obviously, I don't want to see Constable Bleep Face or a crap face, Baron Corbin, but he might show up. And Lord help us all if that happens on SmackDown Live. You'll see me go off. I don't know. This was crazy. And as far as the fight goes, yeah, I'll give it 3.5 stars. This was a great match, great battle. It adds more intrigue and more on the drama side because, as you saw, Rollins and AJ just couldn't get along in that fight. It was tough. So there's really nothing more to say. I thought this was a great start to Monday Night Raw, no doubt about it. Dee Dee, wasn't I give it to you, my love?
Yeah, it was a solid segment. I mean, it was a surprise to see so many from SmackDown show up on Raw, since, you know, the only one promoted was Roman. The matches were interesting. That he came up with this new thing he's come up with, where, you know, 3 are allowed from Raw on SmackDown, 3 allowed from SmackDown on Raw. Is kind of weird, but of course it was a last minute throw in, just because he had 3 SmackDown stars in the ring. The match, I'll agree with the rating. It was it started off really good. Not surprised how it ended, but we all pretty much knew AJ and Seth wouldn't make it through the whole match as a unit. So not much more I'm going to say about it. I'll toss it back to you, Florio.
And now this is where the show pretty much falls off the cliff now, if you know what I mean. So I don't think we're going to be hearing much from MF and Didi tonight because, squash matches, god-awful segments, and that's why this show ended up being yet another snoozer of a show. Thanks for the nap, guys. I appreciate it. Sami Zayn, was going to cut another one of his scathing promos. Yeah, stop me if you've heard that one before. But then finally, the monster among men, Braun Strowman, he shuts him up. And what does he do? He chases him all the way to the backstage area, finally gets him, beats the snot out of him, and then throws him in a dumpster. And then a garbage truck hauls him off. That brought back some painful memories for myself and MF because back when we were doing our JR and King thing on Raw, it kind of reminded me of when D-Generation X sent the Spirit Squad back to OVW. That's kind of what that felt like in a sense. So, I don't know. But hopefully no more of those scathing promos from Sami Zayn. So, moving on. Then we had the Lucha House Party in a squash match. They knocked them out in a minute. So, we're not going to, waste any time on this. Then we had Ricochet against Robert Roode, a return match from last week, but there was a stipulation here. Robert Roode campaigned saying that, hey, I deserve to be in this match. I beat one of the participants last week. So apparently management agreed. So Robert Roode gets another shot at Ricochet with the Money in the Bank spot on the line. If Robert Roode won this match, he would be in the match. Ricochet would be out. If that had happened, that would not have made any sense whatsoever, considering I do love Robert Roode. Don't get me wrong. But thankfully, fans, we don't have to worry about that. Ricochet won the match 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So Ricochet still in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Thank goodness. That's all I can say on that. I mean, if they had put Roode over, I mean, that would have been, oof. That's all I can say on that. I would have gone on one of my anti-Corbin rants again. But nonetheless, I like that they took the time to address the fact that Roode beat Ricochet the week before. Ricochet was added to the match and Roode was left out. But those are small details that us fans do care about. So then we had an interesting backstage moment. Samoa Joe getting in the face of Rey Mysterio's son Dominic. And it is official. Samoa Joe will defend the United States Heavyweight Championship against Rey Mysterio at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view in 13 days. And then from there, we had Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans, she wins a squash match against a young lady named Ali Katrina. She squashed her in 35 seconds. And then we had the 4 Raw women from the Money in the Bank ladder match, the upcoming women's Money in the Bank ladder match: Dana Brooke, Natalya, Naomi, Alexa Bliss. Lacey Evans asked them to come out in proper formal attire, I guess. And then Becky Two Belts shows up, and then of course Lacey and Becky have another one of their pull apart brawls. That's one of the few bright sides of this show. I mean, they're taking time and they're making Lacey Evans look like a serious threat to Becky Two Belts, which I think is commendable. So, and it's actually giving me hope that the match with Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's Championship has the potential to maybe possibly be a sleeper fight of the night contender, maybe. So one of the few bright spots of this show here tonight. Well done. Viking Raiders, they squared off against Hawkins and Ryder. But there is one thing I do have to say, and that is a pair of squash matches tonight, and I do consider that to be a negative. But why have main roster regulars lose squash matches when local wrestlers can do it instead? Hawkins and Ryder against the Viking Raiders. Viking Raiders win the match 2 minutes 45 seconds. Hawkins and Ryder didn't even show their entrance. That says everything you need to know about how much the company's behind them. Crowd was dead silent during the bout, and Viking Raiders get the win. So obviously the Viking Raiders next in line, and I think the magical run for Hawkins and Ryder, their little feel-good moment, I think that's going to come to a crashing halt. I think Money in the Bank, Viking Raiders will get their opportunity, and I think the Viking Raiders will be your next Raw Tag Team Champions. Then we had another Firefly Funhouse segment. Yeah, okay. I know MF. I think MF is the only person in this whole entire world. You heard what MF said on our last show. He said that he actually enjoys the Firefly Funhouse segments, and if that's true, he probably enjoyed this newest installment here tonight, even though it's, monkey crap. Moving on. And now, finally, we can get into some relevant stuff here. The first of our two WrestleMania rematches, Roman Reigns squaring off against Drew McIntyre. Roman Reigns wins the match via a disqualification in 14 minutes and 10 seconds. SmackDown business on Monday Night Raw because Shane O'Mac and Elias. Well, what happened was Roman Reigns hit the spear on Elias, or I should say on Drew McIntyre, and then Shane O'Mac and Elias come out and cause the disqualification, and they proceed to beat the snot out of him because we all know Roman Reigns and Elias square off at Money in the Bank in 13 days. So, all right, MF, finally we have some relevant stuff here on this dumpster fire Monday Night Raw here. So, Big Dog and McIntyre, yes, it ended in a DQ, but I'll be honest, it was actually a better match than Mania.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Good match, solid fight. 2.5 stars for me. And, they did serve its purpose. It was a good match that I guess a lot of the fans were definitely invested in this time around. I kind of felt like the WrestleMania fight was a little longer. This was nice, short. It played to the crowd enough that they were definitely amped. They were definitely into this fight. And then, they pulled out the rug at the end with Shane McMahon and Elias to interfere. However, it is storyline progression, which is something that is very harped a lot on SmackDown Live. Very rare you see it on Monday Night Raw, but to have two SmackDown guys go at it and to cause the interference and the finish to be the way it is, yeah, we can poo-poo over it, but in the grand scheme of things, it advances the storyline for Roman Reigns and Elias heading into Money in the Bank, which is fair enough. So I kind of feel like I need to take a little bit of a pat on the back because this was technically Raw versus SmackDown. Yes, it ended up being a DQ finish, but it was a solid fight for what it was worth. And on top of that, both men looked pretty well. And again, like I said earlier, it is a storyline progression story here because of the fact that Elias and Shane McMahon caused the interference and caused the DQ finish, which is something that, like I said, something that's very notorious and infamous on my program every Tuesday night. And that's something that I know Didi Woodson always praises SmackDown for, is storyline progression. And you got to see it with your very eyes right here on Monday Night Raw tonight. So, Anthony Florio, you're welcome, in the immortal words of Damien Sandow, as he would say. So, you're welcome. Dee Woodson, it's all yours, my love.
Oh boy, yeah. It was very much storyline progression match, but yeah. I'm sorry. I kind of find that funny. Apologize or thanking Fletch for the SmackDown storyline progression on here. But hey, it is what it is. It's what we needed was to give another little boost to Raw, since this was a crapshoot show, I guess you could say. I mean, it was bad. I think it should have went probably in the dumpster with Sami Zayn, but oh well. We'll get to that later. I'm going to give the match about 2.5 to 2 3/4, because it was a pretty good match. It's just the I'm not a fan of the DQ finish, but like Fletch said, this was storyline progression. We had to have this come full circle. Plus, the whole night we've been seeing little clips of Miz sitting outside Shane's dressing room, so that came to a head also in this little bit here, because he came out and went, took off after Shane. So yeah, I mean, it was, basically, I guess you could say a little bit of storyline progression for Raw as well as storyline progression for SmackDown, because you're continuing the feud with Shane and Miz, which I would not be surprised if Miz ends up being one of the ones that appears on SmackDown, since we know Shane's going to be on SmackDown tomorrow, since he's crowning a new tag team champion. So, as they've been hyping and advertising. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I would not be surprised if Miz is one of the, I guess now, 3 or 4 guys that goes back and forth. I don't know. So not much more I'm going to say about it. Florio, it's yours.
2.5 to 3. Here it is. The overall match was 3 stars, but the DQ, I gotta, take a little bit of a brownie point away from that. So drop it down to 2.5, although the overall match was 3. A small correction for MF. The Mania match was criminally short, as we all know. It was way too short for our liking. Because this match here, this Reigns McIntyre fight, was longer and more entertaining than that lopsided letdown of a Mania bout. Vince McMahon just had to send the message that Roman Reigns was back in full force at Mania. And in the process, he told viewers that nothing had changed with Roman, depriving Roman of a strong comeback story and damaging a top heel in Drew McIntyre. Can anyone really say with a straight face that either character is better off because of that WrestleMania finish? So that's all I can really say on that. But, this match to me, far better than the Mania match. This is what we should have had at Mania, just not counting the DQ. So overall 3 stars, but it's really 2.5 because of the DQ. So and then the burial of the Revival continues. They were supposed to have a match against the Good Brothers, and then the Usos got them again, and you thought it couldn't get any worse than last week. Well, guess what, folks? It did get worse than last week. And, me being the no-nonsense guy around here, how I was raised, by the way, I am not even going to dignify this. So, moving on. And then we had No Way Jose, or as I call him, Adam Rose 2.0, with his Rosebud rejects. No Way Jose gets destroyed by Lars Sullivan, and that was no freak accident. And then finally, the other big WrestleMania rematch, our main event of the evening, the return match for the WWE Championship. Champion Kofi Kingston defending against the man he took the title from at WrestleMania, the new Daniel Bryan. Winner of the match in 17 minutes and 20 seconds. And still the WWE champion, just like WrestleMania, Kofi Kingston. He gets it done. Trouble in Paradise. Edie Woodson, I'll say this: not as good as the Mania match, but still another great match from these two.
Yeah, it was, and for me, I would call this my fight of the night because I actually like this one a little bit better than the one at the beginning of the show. These guys really did, for this being a SmackDown match on Raw. I mean, these guys really did go out there and they pretty much tore up the ring and gave the Raw fans at least something to go home on a positive note with. And I'm going to give it 3 3/4 of a star. I mean, this was a very well done match. I really don't have a lot of negative to say about it. Just several bad bumps, I guess you could say. Um, you know, Kofi took a few bad hits, but yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, there's nothing bad to say about it. So, nice way to end the show. Great main event, and I guess this would be another one where Fletch will be thanking you for it. So, since it's a SmackDown guys, so not much more I'm going to say about it. Florio, it's yours.
I think MF meant for it to be the other way around, where it should be me thanking him because let's be realistic. Monday Night Raw's ratings have been the absolute worst of all time in the 26-year history of the show, and WWE had to do something. And the reason why we saw all these SmackDown guys on the show tonight was because they were supposed to have a SmackDown house show somewhere, and the ticket sales were so bad they had to cancel the show completely. And that's why the SmackDown talent showed up on Raw tonight, and that's why Vinnie Mac invoked his new little wild card rule. And yes, I'm very grateful for that because hey, we get to see some SmackDown talent on Raw, and I'm sure tomorrow night, depending on which Raw talent shows up on SmackDown Live, I know MF's probably going to be basically on hands and knees here. I mean, the way MF, if we're gonna pull out the funny haha when it comes to me and MF and our Raw and SmackDown Live, little thing here, it's kind of like Mr. Spacely and Mr. Cogswell from the Jetsons. I mean, I'm more of the Mr. Spacely and MF's more of the Cogswell, and that's basically what it is. It's been basically Spacely and Cogswell, one-upsmanship, the whole 9 yards. And tonight, I'll be honest, I'll be like, I'll be getting on the hands and knees and begging and saying, hey, MF, your SmackDown guys, they tore the house down on Monday Night Raw, and I know tomorrow night MF is going to be, saying, yo, Florio, thanks a lot for some of the Raw guys you gave us here tonight. Well, it depends on who you get. So, fair enough. But all nonsense aside, main event was entertaining. And, this to me, I mean, I'm torn because this was a great match. I mean, I'll be honest, the Mania match was better. We all know that. The Mania match stole the show. And, this was about 3 1/4, 3.5 stars. And, it was entertaining, but this didn't come anywhere close to feeling as special as Vince made it out to be. And, that's really more for my overall review. But nonetheless, I mean, another very good match from these two. And, first WWE Championship match on a Monday Night Raw, like I said, since July the 18th of 2016, which was right here in our neck of the woods at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence. And MF, you should know, you were there. You and Megan Silva. So that's all I can say on that. So I'm glad that Kofi went over. I mean, considering that this was the main event, I thought for a small moment that they were going to put the belt back on Bryan, which would have made no sense because, Kevin Owens is waiting in the weeds, as we say. So yeah, they had to put Kofi over here, and I'm glad that they did. I'm not ready for his run to end yet, if I'm going to be honest with you. So we'll see how far it can go. But for right now, 3 1/4 to 3.5 stars. This to me, I mean, it's right up there with that opening tag match. That's all I can say. I'm torn because both of those were really good matches. So nothing more to say. MF, I mean, Yes, I'm like Mr. Spacely. I'm gonna humble myself before you, Cogswell. Awesome.
Great match. Yeah, no doubt about it. Not didn't have the same drama or the same intensity like WrestleMania did, no doubt about it. But this was still a darn good fight. Look, regardless of what anybody thinks about Daniel Bryan or if he was injured or not or anything else, he looked amazing tonight. Kofi looked really good in his match. Yeah, there was a scary moment where Kofi took a real nasty spill out of the ring. At one moment, the referee ran out to check on Kofi to make sure he was okay. I was actually really concerned because I thought Kofi hit his head or that he went careening off the apron, and right there's that LED board. So I got a little worried about Kofi there for a little bit there. But no, Kofi was fine, was able to finish the match. Great closing sequence, to say the very least. And Kofi indeed wins the match and successfully defends the WWE Championship, or like Kofi was doing. And no, I'm not going to do the hip thrust, Didi, so don't worry. I'm not Michael Bullock. But Kofi Kingston is still the WWE World Heavyweight Champion in a 3 to 3.5 star fight of the night for me. And yes, Anthony, I will be like Cogswell, grinning from ear to ear and say, I told you how good my SmackDown talent is, and we just showed it on your show, the supposed A show of WWE on Monday Night Raw. And like I said once, I'll say it again. I hope the ratings are better this week than they were last week, or as bad as they've been in the last few weeks. And if they prove to be better, then you're welcome. You can take it home, Florio.
I should have thrown in another cartoon reference, Coyote and Roadrunner. That's the other one. So,
Me.
Yep, that's exactly right. MF the Roadrunner, me the Coyote. So, and that's what it is. I mean, Raw is like the Coyote, SmackDown Live is like the Roadrunner. SmackDown Live, runs away with the ratings every week, and I'm sure this week's going to prove to be no exception. So, oh boy, but nonetheless, let's get into our overall review here of the show. 50-50 show here. This was a 5 out of 10. I could go lower. I could probably go 4.5 at the worst. But in regards to Vinnie Mac's claim at the top of the show saying this was going to be a Raw that we'll never forget, I assure you fans that I personally will forget this night and soon. Yes, the main event was entertaining and the show had some decent moments, but this did not come anywhere close to feeling as special as Vince made it out to be. And now that I've had a few hours to think about this wild card deal, I don't get it beyond my initial thought that they can surprise people with wrestlers crossing brands from time to time. If they intend to make this the norm, I'm not sure what purpose the brand split really serves. I suspect that the novelty of seeing wrestlers jump from show to show, it's probably going to get tiresome in a hurry. But I guess it is encouraging to see Vince react in some way to his ratings going down the crapper. But honestly, I don't see this as the long-term fix to his booking failures. What you need to do, stop with the campy comedy nonsense, AE Usos revival, the pointless storylines, the tiresome segments, the squash matches, what have you. The three of us, along with Michael Bullock as a whole, if you ask the four of us to write a show for Raw and SmackDown Live every week, I guarantee you we wouldn't be giving you fans content that's 5 or lower out of 10. No, we'd be giving you 8s, 9s, even perfect 10s once in a while. You got to let these performers go out there and be them damn selves, not hold them back. I mean, this installment of Monday Night Raw, we used the content once before. I just might use it again right here and now. I mean, well, not just pointless storylines, but confusing ones as well. I mean, that's another problem. And, you know, it was exciting to see those talents, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I mean, that's not the answer. So, I mean, there's really nothing more to say except I'll pretty much sum it up. I'm gonna sum it up. I think we've used this on the show once before. Well, I'll use it again here and now. This is how I'm gonna sum it up. This is how I'm gonna sum it up right here and right now. So I think that answers your question right here and right now. Done, finished. Come on, guys, let's do better. Come on. MF, I don't even need to challenge SmackDown Live. SmackDown Live's already going to whoop our, you know what.
It's about a 4 out of 10. Look, the thing is that you got advertisers, you got a lot of people, a board of directors, and everything else. You can't really go back to that Attitude Era. I'm sorry, you can't. A lot in this day and age, and in the country that we're living in now, Anthony, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could get away with that. That Attitude Era, that Ruthless Aggression Era, you could get away with that. Nowadays, there's a lot of sensitivity in America and in the world. And you gotta there's such a fine line that you gotta do. If you cross that line, I'm gonna be real honest with you. If you cross that line, you're gonna get yourself in trouble. You lose advertising. You could lose, a lot of things. And it's kind of one of those situations where you really gotta be very careful in what you do. So, as much as we want to see it come back, you can't go full blown into it, because if you do, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And that was one thing that WWE kind of did back in the day that almost got them in trouble. And that was pushing the envelope. They were pushing the envelope very hard, but there was a lot of parents groups. There was a lot of different other social groups that got offended at some of the content that WWE was doing. I mean, there was a few times where we really were crossing lines that probably should not have been crossed back in the day. So there has to be a balance in order for it to work. We got to be very careful with what we do. So I think it would be great. It would be awesome. But we got to be, like I said, we got to be very careful. Plus, the sensitivity of a lot of the people nowadays, especially as it relates to the death of Chris Benoit and all that stuff, and the negativity that WWE got on that front, it kind of was one of those things where, all right, we got to be very cautious with it more than anything else. It's a 4 out of 10. I know what you were going for, Florio, but I mean, you gotta be very careful with that as well. There's a fine line that WWE's allowed to cross. You don't want to go down that road again. I know what they want, but the thing is that you just got to get the wrestlers back healthy 100%. But the thing is, and the main thing is, consistent storyline progression, and not just garbage storylines, but give us some action that is going to make us want to watch. And that's the thing. Right now, WWE's been giving us a pile of junk. And as you know, there was a lot of drama earlier today because of the fact that the lead writer for Monday Night Raw got fired early in the morning. So, I mean, you want to talk about chaos and trying to throw things at the last minute. It doesn't get any more crazier than that. The news broke out around 10 or 11 this morning that the lead writer for Monday Night Raw, the guy who's been writing the scripts and whatnot lately for them, was fired. He got canned. So I don't know what's going to happen. That's why I'm glad SmackDown Live is doing as well as they have, because we have been doing storyline progressions. We have been doing things. Last week was a down week for us, which was the first time in how long? Very, very long. It's been a while since SmackDown Live had a not so great show as a whole. Hopefully we'll rebound tomorrow, but who knows? We'll wait and see. Didi, what's in this yours?
Yeah, this was definitely about 4 out of 10. As you can see, I've got on there that it's just lazy writing. But yeah, it's exactly what Fletch said. The head writer got canned, so we had to do a last minute throw together. So yeah, call in SmackDown to save the day. And that's kind of partially what happened. I mean, there was some good stuff from the Raw group, but there was a lot from SmackDown as well that kind of helped save the show. And of course, we also have the more Vince being out there, the more he's looking totally insane, totally crazy. And one of the dirt sheets is saying that that there is a story going viral that Vince is going crazy. So I don't know if that's true or not. It's just what you can read about on the dirt sheets and stuff. We had a couple of strong segments. We had some funny background segments. We had the creepy Bray Wyatt crap. I mean, that was creepy, especially with the kids at the end that looked like they were not really wanting to do what they did. It just was, not the best show in the world, but, we had a strong opening, strong closing, bookend type show, very little in the middle. But yeah, you could get any one of the four of us, or even Derek, that could write a show a lot better than what we got tonight. So not much more I'm going to say about it. I mean, it was just not that great. So I guess I will see you guys tomorrow, I guess. So good night, all.
All right, good night, Didi. We'll see you next time for Cerebral Smack Talk, and MF will set the table for that at the end in just a little bit. But for right now, let's get into Tony's take here. Started off with 205 Live. We had Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado with a Lucha House Party against the Singh Brothers. Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado win the match in 9.5 minutes. I'll be honest, 2.5 stars. Solid match, sluggish middle, and a fun closing stretch. And then from there, we had a non-title match. We had the Cruiserweight champion Tony Nese against Drew Gulak. Tony Nese wins the match 17 minutes and 25 seconds. 3.5 stars. Very good match between two guys with a lot of history and that know each other very well. 7 out of 10 for this. 205 Live last week. Overall good show. Some new faces were introduced. The continuation of Kendrick and Tozawa against Mike Kanellis. And a very good main event. So that's really all there is to say on that. Moving on to Impact Wrestling. We started it off with Ace. Well, actually, we started off with the newest member of the Impact roster, as we talked about last week, Big Mike, Michael Elgin. And, he gets interrupted by Johnny Impact, and then gets interrupted by, of course, LAX came out. And, I mean, so much stuff here. It was really all about Elgin and Impact, and this was a solid opening segment. And then from there, Pentagon Jr. and Johnny Impact, they came out with Elgin. So solid opening segment, and it set up a huge triple threat main event. Ace Austin went up against Petey Williams. Ace Austin wins the match in 7.5 minutes. 3-star match, good opener. Austin maintains his momentum with a good win over an established veteran. Rosemary against Kiera Hogan. That went to a no contest in 4.5 minutes. 2-star match. okay while it lasted, sets up a Young Rosemary rematch. And then from there, we had Eddie Edwards against Phoenix. Phoenix wins 8 minutes, 5 seconds. It was a disappointing match. I mean, it was lethargic more, but it was pretty good overall. And it looks like they're setting up a program between Eddie Edwards and Killer Cross. That could be pretty good. 2 3/4 stars for that match, by the way. RVD, Rob Van Dam, he's back at Impact Wrestling. Great segment there. It looks like they're gonna pair him again. They're gonna pair him up with Ethan Page. That could be interesting. And then the main event, a triple threat match. Michael Elgin, Pentagon Jr., Johnny Impact. Winner will challenge Brian Cage for the World Heavyweight Championship. Winner of the match in 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Big Mike, Michael Elgin. He gets it done. 3-star match. Overall good main event. The right guy won. He also pinned the right guy as well, pinning the former champion, and it makes him come up as a more credible and serious threat challenger right off the bat. Well done. 6.5 out of 10 for this show. Solid post pay-per-view effort. Gave us some fallout from the event, and it set up a full slate of action for this upcoming week. So, yeah, I was very, very impressed with and I'll tell you, my first time seeing, Elgin in a match, because I've never really watched ROH. I mean, I know that's MF territory, but man, he looked great. All right, Impact Wrestling for this week, big show here. LAX against Moose and Josh Alexander. I believe they call themselves the North. Madison Rayne against the Knockouts champion Taya Valkyrie. Jordan Grace against a young lady named Alexia Nicole. The Desi Hit Squad against Cody and Jake Diener. Aiden Prince and Brent Banks and the Rascals in a 4-way match. Rob Van Dam against Ethan Page. And then in the main event, 8-man tag team match. OVE and Madman Fulton against Rich Swann, Willie Mack, Tommy Dreamer, and Falaba in an OVE rules street fight. Oh boy, that's going to be chaos. So that's it. So that will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in tonight. MF right on cue. Cerebral Smack Talk, the next show. Are we doing it tomorrow? Are we doing it Wednesday? When are we doing it?
No, we're doing it tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, immediately following SmackDown Live going off the air.
Very good.
SmackDown Live, as always, we will be talking about that, the fallout from what is going to happen on the show. We don't know for sure. It's going to be very interesting to say the very least. Are any of the Raw guys going to invade SmackDown Live? And if so, the limit's 3. Which 3 is it going to be? So I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. That's going to be very interesting as well. And I don't have anything else up to this point, but obviously I'm not working tomorrow. So obviously I'm going to be working through the wires, checking for any news, anything that's coming up, RWA or, anything down the line. If I got something, I'll give it to you guys on the Mikey's Mindset. 10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. Anthony, let's take it home.
Yes, indeed, MF. So tomorrow night at 10, immediately following SmackDown Live. That's good to hear. And then from there, Friday night on Strictly Sports, we got a very small docket on Friday night. We're going to preview the conference finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Well, we have one conference final that's officially set. Your Boston Bruins will be squaring off against the Carolina Hurricanes. And then we will hopefully have the Western Conference finals set before Friday night. And then we can get into that as well. So still some unfinished business in the West, but the Eastern final is set. Carolina and Boston. Should be a great series. We'll get into that. And we'll also address the controversy at the Kentucky Derby. And we will have our Major League Baseball power rankings. So that's a small show. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk with MF over on Braves Bay 95. Anthony Floyer here in spirit for good old MF Michael Fletcher, for the Phenom Michael Bullock, for Didi Woodson and Derek Ferrer. You're the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Tuesday. And until tomorrow night for Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been listening You're ridiculously raw right here on the Tone 25 and YouTube.com. And remember, no matter what anyone tells you, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one for now, Andy Floyo, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.